this, and this is actually a request video that a lot of people requested, since I did a review of the last time Impact went live, WrestleMania weekend. I got a lot of requests to see if I would do another one, so I figured I'd come on here and see if they improved upon any of the stuff that they did the last time. I did think that the production values of this one were slightly better than the last one. Nothing was glaring. They may have made their common TNA stuff that sometimes I have gotten to the point I kind of ignored. But yeah, there was nothing that I can think off the top of my head. We'll see. Maybe I'll remember something as we go along. But they started out the night with a really good new promo package, new intro, probably for the people that were watching on HD. So if you were watching on HD, let us all know how it looked out. It looked like, from what I was seeing, it looked like it would be pretty good on HD, so there we go with that. They showed the crowd for the first time. It was a small crowd, but if you had read anything about the venue, you probably knew, or if you've seen any of the WEC shows, which is the little like sister promotion of UFC, you probably knew that this wasn't a big place. It was very bright, and I think that was to its detriment. I think it could have been a little darker in there, and I think it would have maybe, it had kind of a weird vibe because it was so bright, but it wasn't really anything too horrible and nothing to really gripe about. But it struck me as kind of strange as watching it. They started out the night, though, very oddly, I would say, as Christy Hemme versus Velvet Sky and Angelina Love, with Cute Kip, of course, and it was Christy Hemme versus Velvet Sky. Why these two would start out a live Impact in HD, no less, I have no freaking clue. But they did, and it wasn't very good, as most people probably know. They didn't give it a lot of time. They gave it maybe 4 minutes. Maybe it wasn't very good, and yeah, it was just there. To be put bluntly. Next we had TNA and West were hyping up the card, which they did a bunch, which is okay, I guess, but it was in my opinion. And none of the hyping seemed to work. I don't think these guys are very good at really selling it, because I think that they both try too hard. I think if West was just trying to sell it himself, I think it would come off a lot better than TNA and West doing it. That's just kind of my take. I know a lot of people don't like West. I just don't think they used West in the right way. I think they need to use him kind of in the back interviewing people. I think he would do much better at that job. Because him and JB, they do, if you ever watched, the stuff on the internet, on the YouTube, it's really good. So I don't understand why it does, so I really think it's just them pairing up, and I think West would be better backstage in that kind of role, rather than how he is used. So, but that's just my kind of take on it. Anyways, JB was in the back, he was interviewing Kurt Angle, and we got this big thing that it was supposed to be the main event Mafia, which was Kurt Angle, Booker, and his stupid accent, which just comes off badly. The English accent was funny. This isn't funny. This is just, you're like, why is he doing it? Nash then showed up, and then Sting eventually showed up without face paint. It was kind of interesting and kind of weird, but it all kind of worked, and you were kind of like, ooh, look, that works in a way. So it worked in the context of, ooh, look what just happened. But yeah. Then we went outside. Foley shows up. He showed up in a VW Bug, which worked for Foley. Of course, the big announcement was supposed to come, and yeah, we'll get to that. Next, Booker came out with his big unveiling of what was in the case. As most people had already been, as there had already been spoilers, was the TNA Legends Championship. Yeah, this actually didn't come off too bad. The championship looks pretty good. It'll be interesting to see how they use it, though. They came out, and as soon as they came out, Christian came out. Basically, they barked back and forth. This went up too long, in my opinion, as far as an interview segment went. Though it was good, it still went too long. I think they rehashed some things. I think there was some parts that didn't need to be as long as it was. Cage came out. They basically set up a match where it'll be Cage versus Booker T for the title. But if Booker T wins, Cage joins the main event Mafia. And if TNA is smart, they will have Booker win. Why do I say that? Because it will add some sort of intrigue. Because he can be the guy that, hey, we have a guy on the inside, and he can always trying to be, you know, trying to backstab the, you know, the main eventers, those sort of guys. So I think it would work in that sense, and then maybe somewhere down the line, Cage sort of starts to see, you know, both sides of the equation. He starts liking hanging out with the main eventers and that sort of thing, and the main event mafia, I should say. So I think it would add a little bit of an interesting twist if they went with that. That's what I would do, at least. Anyways, next we had Morgan and Abyss arguing about Abyss being in the Gauntlet match. Next we had Sheik Abdul Bashir versus Jay Lethal. What sort of crap was this? This went, I think this went 2 minutes. 2 minutes. It was a good 2 minutes, but it was 2 minutes. You have the X Division title, something you had been, you know, talking about, saying, oh, we're gonna have title matches on this card, and it goes 2 freaking minutes. Give me a break. I'm sorry, that wasn't good. Next we had Lauren with Joe and AJ. She talks about the main event mafia, and AJ. Okay, I understand they're pushing AJ to take on Sting, so he has to be kind of the front man and the promo guy. The problem is that most people know AJ isn't all that great on the mic. This was a good promo, though. Though, you know, where he basically talked about where him and Joe were brought in with Christopher Daniels and Low-Ki, which I don't know if he talked about that was kind of his own shoot or what, but if they let him say that, at least bring Christopher Daniels back and have him join their little group, because I think that would work. I'd bring back Low-Ki too, and let it be those 4 guys versus, you know, the old guys. Let it be that, because right now you basically have what? You have 4 old guys feuding with 2 old guys and 2 young guys. So, you know, at least you drop the names. At least Daniels. I would say at least Daniels. If you want to use someone that's already in the company, hey, you could wait till Kaz comes back. There's lots of guys you could always use. But anyways, then we had Rhino taking on Bashir, and you know, Rhino got basically killed by Bashir. I guess it was nuts. Didn't make a lot of sense. Next we had the Hardcore Gauntlet. This was okay, but like a lot of the gauntlets that TNA does, you know, when it actually gets to the match lasts for like a minute, and it's like, you know, what's the deal? Though, you know, I wonder about TNA fans, because I believe, you know, Morgan and Abyss were the last 2 guys, which didn't make a lot of sense to me. You would think it would be, you know, LAX, the 2 LAX guys, but that's not how it worked. But the rest of it kind of made sense as far as the voting went, but who knows. It was fun, and it served its purpose, and was probably, I wouldn't say the best. Well, yeah, it was probably the best match on the card. Next we had Kurt Angle come out. It was, you know, Kurt Angle and JJ and Jeff Jarrett did kind of their thing, and it was okay. And it was another good. The promos were really good. It's just the wrestling was what there was just, it was not very good. To be honest, this was not a strong wrestling show. Next we had Taylor Wilde versus Awesome Kong. This went all of maybe 5 minutes, and with Kong winning, which I'm not going to complain about that, but why didn't you just have this happen on the pay-per-view unless you wanted this to happen tonight? Which to me is just kind of, you know, you could have had just Kong take somebody on and just destroy them, and fans would have been happy with that. Just, you know, anyways. Next we had the main event, and let me talk about this for a second, because you had the main event, and Kevin Nash and Sting come out, and it dawned on me as Kevin Nash and Sting came out that TNA should do a rip-off of the Wolfpack music for all of the main event Mafia. Interesting. Not only that, but at some point, but anyways, I'll get to that in a second. But this match didn't go very long. You know, it didn't seem like it went very long at all. With Nash and Sting winning, with Nash hitting Joe with the belt, and then there was a huge, massive beatdown. The beatdown was pretty good, very, very Horseman-like, and this is what I want to talk about. Here you have a group of old guys, and you have Jeff Jarrett, you have Dutch Mantell, both Southern wrestling guys. Okay, I don't know if I know Jeff Jarrett and Dutch Mantell aren't going to hear this, but if by some godly, divine intervention they do, they're both Southern wrestling guys. Southern wrestling guys should be able to see what this is. That was a horseman-like beatdown. If you have a horseman-like beatdown, then you can basically say, hey, let's book these guys like you would book the Horseman. Sting is Ric Flair. You can have Angle as Arn Anderson. Nash can be Blanchard, and Booker T can be whoever. Okay, and to the point that at some point Joe, and I would have it be Joe, because Joe really should be the guy who cuts the promos. I understand AJ's the one that's going to be going after Sting, but as I said before, AJ isn't the best one on the mic. So, and then, unless you get Christopher Daniels in there, and then Christopher Daniels would definitely be the best guy on the mic. But get someone who's good on the mic, have them, and then basically say to Sting, he's become the very thing he always fought against, meaning the Horseman, and say, you had respect for, you said you had respect for the Horseman, but you know what? Right now you are the Horseman, and you're not only that, or you're not the, you might see yourself as the Horseman in this major, respect group, but you're just another cheap ripoff of the Horseman, and go down the list. You're your idol Ric Flair, Angle is Arn, Blanchard and Nash, and then basically go to Booker and go, well, Booker, even the Horseman had Paul Roma. Just kind of as a little rib. Doo-doo-doo. Maybe some fans wouldn't get it. Maybe some fans would, but it'd be a nice little rib, nice little, semi-shoot, and basically tell Sting, so you basically became the very thing you fought all those years against, which were the Horsemen, and then booked it like that. Book it to where the Main Event Mafia is the Horsemen, and where the new guys, and make it be new guys, are, Sting and Luger, and, maybe you bring in one old guy to be Dusty. Book it like that. Book it like an old classic Horseman feud, and I think it would work. I think it would work very well. Just my take on it. That's what I would do. And as I said, I definitely think the Main Event Mafia should come out with Wolfpack-like music. Though I will say this too. After Sting kind of did the whole "I'm not going to be a heel" thing, he now is a heel thing. It was strange. It was odd. I don't get it. Oh well. What are you going to do? Next we had Foley's main event interview. Yes, we had a main event interview. I'm not big on main event interviews. I don't think most people are. In which he basically came out and said that he was basically like Ric Flair, however many years ago, had bought in, was now an owner of TNA. So my question to that is, if Mick Foley is now an owner, and so is Jeff Jarrett, and they're going to be on screen, what is Cornette's role now? Or is Cornette in the company? What's going to go on with Cornette? I'm just asking, just not picking, just asking. What's going to go on with Cornette? But the interview was, again, I think went too long. And because of that, it didn't have the impact I think they wanted to. But hey, that's just me. Though there were aspects of the interview that were really good, and like I said, all of the interviews, I think that some of them went too long, but I definitely felt they were good. The only thing I would say about them is it will be interesting to see what the ratings were, because if they popped a good rating, that means probably what we're going to continue to see is less wrestling and more promos, which, if you followed wrestling for a long time, that sometimes happens, where the fans want to see a lot of promos, they don't necessarily want to see wrestling. But the flip side of that is, then the pay-per-views have to deliver on the wrestling. They have to have, decisive endings. The endings have to make sense. If it's a screw job ending, it has to be a screw job ending that makes sense, and the fans don't necessarily see it coming, and all of those sort of things. But overall, I didn't like this show very much. I think that last week's show was actually maybe a little bit better than this week's show, the taped one. But like I said, there was far too many promos, not enough wrestling. I think there was less than 30 minutes. I think I read somewhere on wrestling, which that's not cool, folks. That's not cool, especially, you know, ECW didn't hit a high rating when they had, you know, 2 matches that both had a lot of time, but they gave them time, and I understand that, but at least they were willing to do that. And I think, you know, that when ECW is putting on more wrestling than TNA is in 2 hours, that is not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. And you know, it's something that you need to be you know, kind of aware of. You know, 40 minutes of wrestling on a 2-hour show, I don't think is asking too much, really. And really, I think it should be closer to 45. But that's just me. And you know, I like my promos kind of short and sweet, not a bunch of rambling promos. But there was a lot of good setup and that sort of thing. But overall, I didn't think the show was the home run that you would hope a show like this would be. But anyways, like I said, I'll probably see if I can find the one before WrestleMania just to kind of link it up so you guys can see that one too, if you guys don't remember it. But anyways, I'm out. Have a good one.